everybody, and welcome back. It's great to have you with us again. Again, my name is Stuart Points, and I'm the co-director of the Community Engaged Research Initiative, and I'm going to be your host throughout the day of Field Stories. Our thanks again to Kathleen Gallagher for getting our day underway. And to all of you who are able to be with us, we're so very grateful that you're sharing in this work. And again, I want to, just as a way of getting started and welcoming newcomers who have joined us, I want to acknowledge that we're coming in from the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations in Vancouver. This is something we're so deeply concerned about in our work and in the programs that we're sharing with you today. A panel that is about to get underway, Land is Life, Ongoing Institutional Resistance and Survivance in Pandemic Times, reflects a remarkable range of work on the role of Indigenous knowledge keepers, on the challenge that virtual communication creates, and a language course that's at the center of this work from Vancouver Island University. The project leader on this for this program, for this initiative, I should say, Land is Life, and for this panel is Professor Amanda Waeger. And Professor Amanda Waeger is the Canada Research Chair in Community Engaged Research and professor in the Faculty of Education at Vancouver Island University. Amanda has been a leader in bringing this work together with us over the last 8 months. We have tremendous gratitude, and it's a real honor to pass the mic, as it were, over to Amanda. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Stuart. My gratitude to you and Kathleen for our keynote this morning. Such wonderful reminders of why we do the work that we do and thoughtfulness. We are going to begin. I'm going to pass it to Fred Speck, who's going to start us off in our introductions. Fred.
Thank you, Amanda. Hagai Kasla, how much look for clip? Nuguam Iwanuchi. Guy Clanala, cloud is good, wow, you know. I has Talis Lakis, a witness, Snemo. Hagai Kastafla. Hagai Kastafla Ninatmu. Hagai Kasla Shilachwe.
Hi, Chika, Fred. My name is Amanda Waeger. I'm a community engaged researcher. As Stuart mentioned, at Vancouver Island University, I am the daughter of Paul Lochis and Marilyn D. Hazen of the Netherlands and Los Angeles. And I grew up with Jewish ancestry, and I now work with many youth on the island and community members on the island. I'm really very much in using community-based research as a way to influence language and art in our communities in many different ways. So I'm going to pass it to Fred to introduce himself.
Thank you again, Amanda. Yes, my name is Fred Speck, one of the research assistants in this course or this project. And first of all, I want to thank Stuart and Kathleen and Simon Fraser University for hosting not only this event, but for hosting us as well too. I currently reside and live within Snuneymuxw territory, as well as going to school at VIU. And I'd like to extend my thanks to everyone who is here today, and also extend my gratitude to my team today as well too. Thank you.
Hitchka Fred, I'm coming to you from the Comox territory, from the unceded lands, and I feel very fortunate to be coming from here. We are next moving to Georgina Martin. Dr. Georgina Martin, please introduce yourself.
First of all, I acknowledge the traditional and unceded territory of the Kleefli Tene. I am currently located in Prince George. Wade Cohoidap, Ren Squext, Georgina Martin, Swepmken, de Tlakel de Slagwan, Hookshacham de Winekwen Naelia.
Hitchka Georgina. Next, we're going to move to Lori Meyer-Drace.
Enatos, Anthopate Septonat, Denitsanat Sakmin, Height Sepka Maxwait, Height Sepka Kwalshimet, Kwalasalwut, Theos, Sustanalwut. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lori Meyer-Drace. I'm coming to you from Ladysmith on Vancouver Island, and I'm a faculty member in Indigenous Comox Studies at Vancouver Island University. I just want to acknowledge you all for being here in the audience, and I really appreciate the organizers of this event. It's already turning out to be a beautiful gathering. Thank you so much.
Hi, Lori. Our final panelist that will speak today is Chelsea Thomas. Chelsea?
Thanks, Amanda. I'm Chelsea Thomas, and I'm a research assistant on the Land is Life research constellation. I'm the daughter of Kathy Thomas and Winston Dowrich, and I have African, Caribbean, Celtic ancestry. And I'm coming to you from Cowichan territory, where I live, work, and play with my 4 kiddos. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our panelists for their introductions. And we are now going to move to the media, and the media creators are first going to introduce themselves, Becky and Rain, and they'll introduce the media as well. Thank you, Becky and Rain.
Hi, Native. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Enthapa Rain Love. I'm originally from Mohkinstsis, now known as Calgary, Alberta, on Treaty 7 territory. I now make my home on the unceded lands of the Snanawas and Qualicum First Nations in Parksville, BC on Vancouver Island. I'm a co-media creator and research assistant for the Land is Life project. And due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our challenge was to create a video that captured the essence of the course using only audio recordings and Zoom conferencing. We hope that this video sparks curiosity, ignites conversation, and pays tribute to those who have poured their lives into this course. Hitchka.
Thank you, Rain. My name is Becky Thiessen. I am speaking to you today from where I live on the territory of the Coast Salish Sunamuk people. I'm an artist, a community planner, and I work as a research center coordinator for Dr. Amanda Wager. This video, as you are about to view, was co-created with Rain Love, who you just met. Previous to this work, I was not aware of the Land is Life course. However, through my work on this video, I received many of the course teachings. This course has an incredible ripple effect. I have learned a great deal about myself, my community, and my environment. As Rain mentioned, COVID-19 presented many video making challenges. Despite having to completely operate online, we managed to feature people within various roles of the Land and Life course. Elders, knowledge keepers, course instructors, and coordinators, students, and researchers all have a voice in this work. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the video and it draws many questions and comments. Thank you.
One the title of the course itself, Land is Life, is emphasizing that land is sentient.
In 1994, I moved to the island, and I was a founding member of what is now known as the Indigenous Formal Studies here at Vancouver Island University. I was partnered with Lori Meyer-Dries and Kulshimit, one of our elders in residence, Uncle Ray Peter, to team teach. After a few years of working together, we realized we were becoming increasingly frustrated, I guess that's the word I would use, frustrated with some of the pressures that were coming into the department, pressures to become more institutionalized. And what I mean by that, pressures to kind of fit into a stricter time frame, pressures on curricula that was based much more on written text and on kind of what would I call it, standardized academic output. So we felt that the department was really coming under increasing pressure for that.
SWL is so important to me, in my mind, in my opinion, my values and my belief as an Indigenous person, because it's a discipline for one, but also it's relative to oral tradition in Indigenous communities. It exemplifies how teachings from an Indigenous level perspective, pedagogy and episteme works in terms of oral tradition and how it relates to SWL.
The progress that we've made is with the students, not and for that I'm grateful, and for that it gives me hope in the world, because I see this community of students coming out and being able to provide the kind of leadership that we need. The institution, I listen to these students, and they're saying the same things that I said 30 years ago, and it's like, okay, but they understand, so that's a big step forward. They get it. The idea of moving people towards a path of personal transformation, I would never call that's not uniquely Indigenous. That's human.
And I think that's why the course has this retention of students who grow into more responsibilities through the years, is because it's with you for forever.
What I've got out of this course, I mean, that it's a family, community, and land, and our connection to it. The land is truly a relationship. It's our relationship to the land and the water, their medicines and plants, cedar.
So yeah, this class has shown me the value of slowing down, taking your time, observing, honoring the plants, the trees, the water, people, the land all around me. Yes, and it has shown me the value in sit, watch, and listen as well.
Moving forward from this course, I hope to share with others the knowledge that I've learned, because it's been so important for me in my knowledge and learning process. Just learning how much nature can help me, my emotions, improve my attitude, connect with my family.
Because of this class, Land is Life, I imagine how relationships are tied to the land, and the land brings people together, and we build relationships and community.
As a teacher, going into a classroom with my children and my family, we are different in this home because of the gifts that were offered. It has a ripple effect, and it will move through the community. Maybe in a slow way, but in a good way, and I'm really, really grateful for that. I think it's a responsibility. The time and the knowledge that was invested in us we now have the responsibility to share that.
I also really appreciate all the elders and knowledge keepers who have come online with us. I know that it's not traditional, and I am so grateful that we've had these opportunities to continue and to have you join us on Zoom. So, Aichka, thank you very much.
It's tough because I mean, the community aspect of Land is Life was sort of the biggest piece for me. However, that being said, having it online, you certainly weren't getting the same community learning that you would when we spent the entire day on Penelakut.
Online learning is definitely not ideal, but I think right now, especially during this pandemic, it's our best and only option, especially for the safety of the elders and the community members and students that take part. So I don't agree with it, but you can't necessarily be opposed to it. You got to make the best with what you got. So I guess the biggest thing I have to emphasize is respecting the people and what they do or don't share with you, because nobody's entitled, and anything that we do learn from them is a privilege. Quinitum institution can have any ownership of our knowledge, our history, our culture, because it's our very essence. So in moving forward and facilitating courses like this, especially people of a non-Indigenous background or presenting it to non-Indigenous people, I would be really cautious with the wording used. Because even myself, when I presented this both to the education committee, and that included elders from the Cowichan community, as well as members of chief and council, their primary priority was that the nation was to have ownership over anything that we did in the course that I coordinated and that we implemented through VIU.
A smaller teaching institution like VIU has so much potential and has every means to support this course the way it deserves. And they have a responsibility to do so, to set an example for these larger institutions that have a million more layers of bureaucracy to them.
How it could be valued in academia, I believe it gives people who have the desire to want to understand and communicate and collaborate and coexist in a way that's meaningful and positive and enriching. It gives people a chance to learn and grow together. So that's the value it could add to a place like Vancouver Island University.
So the land, the earth is the people. You cannot separate it. So the land is life. The land gives life.
Thank you so much to Rain and Becky for the creation of this video, and we acknowledge many, many people who were part of the creation of the video and the entire project. At the end of the 20-minute version, the longer version of this, which is posted on the Feel Stories website that Becky Thiessen has put in the chat as well. So we hope that you will watch the longer version, because there was a lot of hours and time put into it by many community members and researchers to the creation of that video. So this is has been about a year-long project that was really looking at the impact of the course itself, not only on the students who took the course, but the elders and community members who created the course, and the university and the relationship with the university. What happened during this time was a pandemic, as we all know, and so the course went virtual, which had a lot of adjustments. And so the three things that we are focusing on for this specific event is the virtual adjustments that the elders quickly made to share their traditional knowledges, whereas normally they would not want to be recorded, and one of the panelists is going to speak to that. Some ethical considerations that accompany information gathering, especially vulnerable information gathering to pay honorariums such as SIN numbers or tax exempt forms that have been asked of people. And finally, like the bigger question of the scientific versus community engaged research credibility as knowledge valued in academic research. So now we're going to turn to our panelists, our 4 awesome, fabulous, amazing panelists who have been involved in this project in many different ways to answer a specific question each. And at the end, we'll have time for questions and answers too. So our first panelist is Dr. Georgina Martin, the co-principal investigator. She's going to address the question of how can the university cultivate community-engaged research for social and cultural sustainability in good relation with local people, community, and land. Thank you, Georgina.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. So I've just got a little bit of some words to share, and then I'll just wait until questions and the Q&A. So first of all, I've broken it down into 3 parts: institutional, sustainability, and relations. So I'm going to actually speak from my own perspective. I approach this question from my position as an Indigenous scholar inside the institution. I am grounded in my community connection as I grew up there. I have years of experience working with Indigenous people, and I relate very well to community perspectives. Knowing the history, background, and challenges Indigenous people face places me in a unique position to understand their needs as they engage with institutions. There are structural challenges that a researcher can assist community partners work through. Demands on communities' time is a huge consideration, as well as monetary arrangements, especially when paying honoraria to elders. Institutions tend to service their policies, which causes a disservice. For example, treating elders' honoraria as income interferes with their pensions. They end up losing money. It is important to work with the communities rather than impose institutional criteria on their limited human and financial resources. In terms of sustainability, in order for research to be sustainable, the community must be respected and involved. There are many mechanisms and protocols that require attention when working with Indigenous people in both communities and urban centers. Dr. Maggie Kovach asks these questions. Who is the research for? Is it for the community, or is it to build the academic CV? The community will know right away how the research is being positioned. To be a sustainable, research must be done in a good way by giving sincere consideration to community partners. The strength of the research will depend on relations between researcher and community. In regards to relationships, this is key. It is recommended that when scholars are conducting research with Indigenous people, they must put a great deal of effort into creating very strong working relationships with community and in particular elders. When I do my own research, I consider what I can do for the people rather than focus on what the research will do for me. It is so important to begin by cultivating these relationships based on each nation's values and protocols. BC is a very diverse province. Therefore, it is important to know the people on whose lands we are on. Face-to-face contact with community partners is preferred. Elders must be respected with an in-person invitation, especially if the researcher does not already have a current relationship with them. Kuksjajang.
Thank you so much, Georgina. Aichka. So important to remember that reciprocity and that balance, even more so on what you're doing for the community instead of what they're doing for you or the institution that we work for. So thank you. The next question is directed towards Dr. Lori Meyer-Dries. She's a course instructor. And the question is, how can universities work with elders and communities in a way that respects their expertise and territory, the community's expertise and territory, rather than use them as a, quote, free resource available to the institution at any time? Lori?
Thank you, Dr. Wager. I'm really grateful to be here, and I want to thank Georgina, my colleague at Vancouver Island University, for laying out sort of the general protocols that are important for engaging in community-based work, whether it's teaching, research, learning, with our local Indigenous partners. I speak to you today as a founding instructor of this 18-year-old course, and it took many years to refine and to really come to an understanding, a deep understanding of what our communities had to offer. Us as learners, and for myself as an instructor, we really did co-develop this course with our local elders and community members. And what quickly became apparent to me was that their support was deep and meaningful. And part of their love and generosity that they shared was based in the fact that their own youth attend our institution. And what they were attempting to do was to share their knowledge in a setting that was meaningful for their children, their grandchildren. And they wanted that to continue. As the course grew in popularity and as the numbers of students wanting to experience, and faculty as well wanting to experience this type of teaching and learning environment based in Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous pedagogies, we found that our institution was divesting itself of support for this kind of programming. In fact, over time it became apparent that I might be paid as an instructor, but our co-developers, our colleagues in the communities themselves, were left out of any support whatsoever. We tried to find ways to mitigate this. I gave up my salary. We fundraised out in the broader community to try to find ways. But the problem is that our institutions view any resources that lie outside the boundaries of our educational institutions, they view them as free. And so the Indigenous territories and the people living in them were viewed as a library to which we needed not to have a subscription. We didn't need to acknowledge that that information has its own value in its own context. It came to be perceived institutionally as something that was infinitely available to us. And that's something that's deeply problematic to me. As a facilitator of this type of learning, I saw the difficulty of me facilitating what actually was tantamount to a ripoff. And I see the desire to expand this beautiful work, which is so meaningful and has deep impact on everyone involved. And yet we're not addressing the challenges institutionally on how we can do this better. As the province of British Columbia has adopted UNDRIP, and as we understand the acronym of OCAP, where communities have ownership, control, and control access and try to protect their own knowledges, I think institutionally, no matter whether we're at a large provincial university or in a smaller regional college, we really must work harder to find ways to address this directly. The time is up. Over 18 years, I think we're still facing the same problem that we started with, as Dr. Melody Martin explained in the video. I'd like to welcome questions around that and any insights that others might have. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you being in the audience. Heichka.
Heichka, Lori, thank you so much for your thoughts and for your position of having co-created this course and being for 18 years running it as someone who witnessed it and was a part of it last year. It's just, there's so much learning that comes out of it. So thank you so much, Lori. We are now going to turn to Fred, who is a course student and also a research assistant during this this past 6 months of research. The research, the data that was collected were the students' final presentations. They had 5 minutes of final presentations, and those who gave permission, we transcribed. And then we did a few interviews with elders and knowledge keepers, and we also had one focus group, which you saw in the video. So Fred was not only a course student, a community member, and a research assistant during the research. And he's going to address the question of, do you see the type of knowledge created through the Land is Life course valued in academia? And if so, how or where do you see it valued or discredited? I'm going to turn it to Fred now. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Dr. Wager. Yes, well, first of all, I'll answer the how is it discredited? Okay, well, first of all, I don't think the Land is Life course is invested enough in terms of financial support. And in saying this, if Land is Life is not invested in, then that means that students aren't invested in. You know, and if the students aren't invested in, and the society is not invested in, and also in the end of it, reconciliation is not invested in. So this is my take on this. And do I see Land is Life course valued in academia? Short answer is yes. Anything that is practical, logical, conceptual, theoretical, and philosophical is applicable to the work that is done through the Land is Life course. You know, it goes even further than that. The values within Land is Life course is so diverse that it applies to almost every faculty and every discipline, you know, in personal lives and professional lives, and all occupation. With all of the teachings that come through Land is Life, from the core group, from elders, from the communities, the various communities, in this case, Nanaimo, Stamanis, Penalaket, and the Cowichan tribes. And we're so fortunate that we have the elders who are so generous and willing to support and teach. That not only does it have academic value, but to have the teachings and the mentorship and the guidance of these elders. And it goes through this whole diverse network of people who work within this group, you know, through the course. And to think about the support and guidance from the elders, especially through their teachings of storytelling, singing traditional songs and sharing language, teaching through those avenues really adds value to not only academia, but to the health and wellness of students. And this is so important. And you think about with the support, guidance, and mentorship, both on a wellness and health level, along with the academia, how it supports the students to make healthier choices and how to become healthier themselves. So, and you hear testimonies from students, for example, when they're in an institution and they're training, and you think about the stories, personal stories from students who share that they've survived, survived addictions, for example, or even a suicide, and how they've changed themselves. They've transformed themselves from being part of that history to creating healthier choices and being better for themselves, and making better choices, and even to improving their grades in school. And and you also have students who recover from addiction, and through Landis Life and their experience through Landis Life, to learn from these elders, they move forward to make these healthier choices, and they end up establishing a home. They come from their tragic background to establishing a home, a healthier lifestyle, to learning how to harvest plants like they've learned through Landis Life course. And overall, in the end, it becomes the epitome of their being, as students, scholars, and in their personal and their professional lives as they move forward, and to move into all of the fields and to all of their occupations. And this is what I mean by how, if we don't invest in Landis Life, we're not investing in the students. And if we're not investing in Landis Life and the students, we're not investing in society. And if we're not investing in the latter three parts, we're not investing in reconciliation. And this is my take on it. And I'm open to any questions as well too. And I thank you for your time. Gail Kessler.
Kayla Keska, Fred, I think the mention of the health of our students is so important to our institutions as well, and the importance of the course, and looking at the importance of this in academia. So thank you. The final question on our panel is for Chelsea Thomas, who was a research assistant during the project. And it's a very large question, but she was going to address it using some of the research that we unpacked. So how do you see this course contributing to reconciliation? Chelsea?
Thanks, Amanda. Well, for the purposes of our research, we defined reconciliation as being the reciprocity between students and the teachings, and how the Landis Life teachings were received and carried forth. So we looked for language that indicated whether or not the non-Indigenous students that participated were reflecting on the ways that they could give back to the communities that they work with or will work with in the future. And there were many, many instances of learners sharing evidence of reconciliation. But for the sake of time and wanting to leave space for questions, we just thought that we'd share one of the quotes that came from a Landis Life course learner. So I'm going to share that now. The entire week has taught me so much about the land and so much about the environment, and how much we should be able to give thanks to everything around us. It has really put a different perspective on what my future as an educator is. Thank you, and Haichka.
Thank you, Chelsea. So now we're going to move to the question and answer, and I believe that Stuart is facilitating this part of our presentation.
Right. Thank you, Amanda. It's great to rejoin you. If I could ask all the panelists to turn their camera and mic on, so that we're all in a gallery screen. And I want to remind our audience that any questions that you have, please just put them in the Q&A function, and we'll bring them through to the speakers. I want to thank everybody for an extremely rich set of contributions and framing of the Landis Life project. What a remarkable and beautiful and powerful piece of work it is. The video that you've shared, as Amanda said, is also available on the CIRI website in its extended form as a 20-minute video. And I want to really encourage people to watch that if you have not already. It's an incredibly powerful but equally beautiful piece of work that is a rich experience to take in. among the questions that come up, and we only have about 6 or 7 minutes or so. So one of the questions that I thought was so powerful in Dr. Martin's sharing, as well as others sharing, is this whole question about how community engaged research and institutions run into each other as a space of friction. And I thought, Dr. Martin, one of the really powerful things you said was that so often research means serving institutional policies rather than community needs. And I just wanted to say that out loud again, because that struck as such a powerful reminder of the work and our objectives. With that in mind, I wondered if at one level, one piece of the program that was quite rich is the sit, watch, and listen framework. That is part of the learning and part of the work of knowledge building. And I wonder if anybody on the panel would like to share more with us about how sit, watch, and listen helps to inform community engaged research in rich and meaningful ways.
I guess I'll kick it off and then maybe I'll give it over to Fred. Sorry, Fred. I just wanted to point out that the structure of sit, watch, and listen came to us from our community elders and specifically was brought to our classrooms by Quilshemet, the late Ray Peter. And the idea was counter to sort of an academic point of view where students are asked a question a lot and asked and invited to articulate their experiences, and that's their job as student learners. This teaching paradigm involves a lot of quietness and involves students sitting back and absorbing what is around them. And it really is a technique that takes training. It takes time. It's a step beyond mindfulness because it does require you in the end to have the responsibility to report back. But I just want to acknowledge that the late Ray Peter brought that to us from the community for us to use in class. Fred, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Laurie. Yeah, thank you for that. And I'd just like to mention that I was raised by my late grandparents, and you know, I mentioned in a video that it really is a discipline. And when it comes to terms of, especially when it comes to oral traditions, for example, and we're being taught by elders of our history through oral tradition. And as Laurie mentioned, it is a responsibility on us to be able to be correct in terms of passing forward the information, of sharing from the elders. And this is our role and responsibility. And for example, if we aren't being careful and being responsible enough to listen carefully, we can pass on the incorrect messages. Therefore, we can be passing on, you know, the wrong information, sharing and teaching if we're not to sit and listen carefully. Yes. Yes.
I'm just going to add a little. Go ahead.
Also want to mention also the SWL is also extended in other courses within the Indigenous Pomo studies at VIU too. So that's really important to mention. Yes. Thank you.
I just wanted to add another teaching that I got from Dr. Joanne Archibald, and she used to always remind us that we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we have to listen twice as much as we speak.
Dr. Archibald is a font of wisdom. She is. If I may, seeing where we are in our time, I hope it's okay if we just go over by a couple of minutes given our plan. But for those who have seen the video and will recall what the clip we saw in the panel this morning, it ends with a remarkable statement by an elder. And I found that in my watching of the long video really a powerful stamp at the end. and listening to her voice again here is tremendously powerful. I wanted to ask, as a way of conclusion, is how do we respect that powerful message at the conclusion of the video that land is life, as part of the work that community engaged research brings into being?
In 2 seconds flat, I would say we can begin as institutions and as employees of institutions like this to acknowledge Indigenous ownership of land, and that they are the stewards of those landscapes, and that we better, as WL, or we're not going to have a successful partnership and relationship. It doesn't appear that we're there at this time, but that is my hope for the future.
I just want to add that in a lot of the work that we do at Vancouver Island Universities, quite often we're saying that the land and the elders are our living libraries.
Thank you.
And to hear the language as well from the elders within their own communities, within their own traditional territories, is something else, because when we have this type of experience, we have a whole different perspective in terms of where we're at, and to think that of the traditional territories that we're at, and to learn not only from the elders, but to learn about their communities, to learn about their community members, to learning about their traditional territories landscape. It tells you something else, and it strengthens the relations between all of those who are involved. And I think that's the most crucial, the most important part. And if it comes to coexisting and working together, and when it comes to reconciliation, for me, there's no better way than to learn directly from the elders within our own traditional territories. Yes.
Thank you. Amanda, I wonder if you want to offer any thoughts by way of conclusion to pull us to a close?
I think that and it kind of addresses the last question about Spirit Walker's final quote of the land being life, is spend as much time as you can on the land. I think especially in our different positions, we spend a lot of time looking at this and answering emails and getting stuck in coursework or all of these writings. And as much as we can, actually be outside and learn from the land is what I've taken away from being a researcher for this course, and learning from Georgina and Lori and Fred and all of the elders and community members that were part of the course, and from Rain and Chelsea and Becky. All of our discussions is just that we are all connected, and the more we can be outside, the more we can take our family members outside, our four-legged and two-legged ones, and just be there as much as humanly possible with all of our other things, and make it a priority. So I guess I just want to thank my community, and we call ourselves a research constellation because we're all connected in so many different ways, and how much I appreciate your time here today and your time over the past year. And thank you, Stuart, for having us and for having us share this wonderful experience with everyone.
I want to thank, indeed, I want to be in a room so that we can hear each other responding. But I want to thank Dr. Georgina Martin and Dr. Lori Drez, Chelsea Thomas, Fred Speck, Becky Thiessen, Rain Love, and Amanda Wager for sharing this work with us, for the hours of labor put into producing the media, the richness of institutional resistance and survivance that's evident in this project is a lesson for many, and precisely what Field Stories wanted to bring into view. And so deep gratefulness and thanks for your contribution to our conversation and our time together. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,